Governor Christie, today you signed into law Bill A3687, which you claim, and I quote, will preserve the safety of the people we serve, which is the first and most important obligation, in my view, of government. Tragically, this bill will not provide the safety it claims, but it will infringe on the rights of U.S. citizens, and it will help terror organizations further along in their goal of undermining freedom in America. This isn't about empty rhetoric or emotion. It's about your oath to uphold the Constitution and defend the rights of the people. Because regardless of how you view government, the Constitution tells us that the sole role of government is to protect our inalienable rights. Today, you failed to protect those rights, and you failed to provide the safety you sought. There is a quote thrown around frequently by Ben Franklin that says something like, "Those who would sacrifice liberty for temporary security will have neither." Now, if the quote seems outdated to you, I assure you it is nonetheless true. And what's more, you upheld the truth in that quote today when you chose safety that you cannot provide over the constitutionally guaranteed God-given rights owed to the residents of New Jersey. You see, the government was not charged with providing people with safety, and quite frankly, it can't. The Founding Fathers guaranteed us through the Constitution life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, you'll notice safety didn't make the list, and that wasn't an oversight. It was an understanding that safety cannot be provided. This law will jeopardize lives, it will infringe on liberties, and will impede the pursuit of happiness of those who live in New Jersey. It jeopardizes lives because it limits people's ability to defend themselves. It infringes on liberties because it denies inalienable rights without due process. Because of those two infringements, it also impedes the pursuit of happiness. Now, a few weeks ago, you mentioned September 11th as your justification for seeking additional security at the cost of our freedom. And I also remember September 11th. And I remember my resolve on that day not to let the actions of violent extremists deter me from my pursuit of living freely. You see, the terrorists weren't simply interested in killing thousands of Americans. Their interest was in changing the fundamental values of this country. They hoped they could use fear to cause the American people to give up their core values, to give up their liberty, and to give up responsibility and their sense of justice. Today, Governor Christie, you helped the terrorists achieve that goal. The risk of terror attacks does not go away when we sacrifice our liberty. The threat of attack remains. The only thing that changes is we have less freedom. Now, this bill was touted at stopping terrorists from legally purchasing firearms. What it does is stops individuals on the terror watch list from purchasing firearms. Now, that might seem like an insignificant distinction, but the terror watch list is in itself unconstitutional because the federal government is not given power to keep secret lists for secret spying on its citizens. And the list itself is not a list of terrorists, but rather a list of individuals suspected of crimes where there is insufficient evidence to file charges. Now, anyone can be suspected of anything by anyone at any time, but the Constitution promises us protection against these arbitrary infringements on our civil liberties. And that process is due process. That promise is due process. And this bill, this law, now that you've signed it, and runs our due process rights. I'm deeply troubled that you ignored the hundreds of thousands of New Jersey citizens that wrote to you, called you, emailed you, used social media to contact you. That you ignored the voice of the thousands of people who took time off of work, drove to Trenton, and told you that these bills were unconstitutional, that they wouldn't affect crime, they wouldn't have the desired outcome, and would infringe on the liberties of New Jersey residents. Governor Christie, when we allow fear to motivate us, to carry our liberties to the altar of safety and sacrifice them, safety is not the outcome. When we give up our liberties, it is the terrorists who win and the residents of New Jersey who suffer.